Hello, I'm Joachim, the music director and conductor of the Des Moines Symphony. Thanks for joining me in the DMSO Listening room. Today I'll be talking about the great German Romantic composer Johannes Brahms. Teacher, virtuoso pianist, and composer, Brahms was born in Hamburg, Germany on May 7, 1833. He wrote in the tradition of Beethoven and Schumann at a time when the musical world was at a crossroads. Contemporary composers of the day included Franz Liszt and Richard Wagner. Liszt and Wagner represented the new German school of composition, whose music was often inspired by drama and literature. Their pieces displayed advanced chromaticism, complex harmonies, and more fantasia-like forms. Both of these composers also had big, sweeping personalities, in contrast to Brahms, who loved a more quiet, humble, rustic life. Brahms composed for orchestra, chamber ensembles, piano, organ, voice, and chorus. His friends included violinists Joseph Joachim and Ede Remenier, the source of his gypsy style and influence. Brahms was a rabid perfectionist and destroyed many of his earlier compositions. However, the last 20 years of his life brought him a considerable amount of fame. As a child, he learned to play the violin, the cello, and piano, and it was the latter that he really excelled on. When he met Joachim, the virtuoso violinist of the day, he played some of his piano works for him. Joachim said many years later, "In the course of my artist's life, I have never been so overwhelmed." Schumann, who was not only a fine composer but a well-regarded music critic, liked Brahms and went on to write some very complimentary articles about him and his music. This significantly helped grow his reputation in the musical world. When Schumann died in 1856, Brahms helped Schumann's wife Clara, an outstanding musician in her own right, with her personal affairs. The two remained friends for their entire lives, and it was during this period that he held several posts in Hamburg, including conducting an outstanding women's choir, all the while continuing to write music. However, he wanted the coveted position of director of the local orchestra and was passed over for it 2 times. He held a grudge for Hamburg and its people for his entire life. In the early 1860s, he moved to Vienna and enjoyed a steady stream of success there. As he grew older, he was afraid that his conservative style would be lost on the world. The story I always think about when studying a Brahms score is about a performance of his 4th and final symphony in Vienna. The piece had been premiered in Meiningen in 1885 and was met with mixed reviews. But as the years evolved, his 4 symphonies have been played a lot, and on this occasion, Brahms, who was then dying of cancer, summoned the strength to attend the 1897 performance in the Golden Hall. After each movement, he was applauded and asked to stand by the sold-out audience. At the end, the ovation lasted for nearly 15 minutes. Not only was the Viennese audience applauding his music, but also the man who had become a part of local folklore in Vienna. For decades, this diminutive man could be spotted in cafes, restaurants, and bars throughout the city. He was never overtly friendly, but he did have a soft spot in his heart for children and was frequently seen giving them candy. For years, the Viennese public had barely given him a glance, of course. They knew him as an eccentric, living in a small 3-room apartment with rented furniture. And as a man who attended every concert at the Musikverein, opera glasses in hand, chuckling at the aristocrats and gossiping about them the next day. But that day, the ovation for Brahms was wild and unprecedented. It was as if Vienna finally knew they were in the presence of greatness. They gave him a send-off like no other. From his yellow eyes, over his gaunt face, and through his straggly beard, Brahms' tears streamed. He knew the end was near, and on that date, March 7, 1897, this performance of his last symphony was the final live performance he would hear. He died 3 weeks later. More about Brahms and his symphonies on the next DMSO Listening Room, a part of our DMSO at Home series, featuring self-produced videos from our musicians' homes to yours. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.